We are back on the How You Slice It podcast. Today we're here with Clint. I usually go into the background and all that stuff, but you know what? I'm changing it up a little bit because I think it's best coming from you. Introduce yourself and your shop, and just give a little bit of a background, about the business.
Yes, man. So definitely glad to be on the podcast. My name is Clint Gray. I am 1/3 of the Slim Huskies founders trio. A little bit about Slim Huskies, just to keep it simple. It's one skinny guy and two big dudes. Hence the name Slim Huskies. And our brand really just wraps around our story as friends coming up in entrepreneurship. A lot of people don't know that before we got into pizza, we tried our hand at a moving business. Mm. And so the moving business was good for us, right out of college, maybe a year or two out of college. We were roommates at Tennessee State University, and we went on to do everything after we graduated except for all the plans we had when we, were roommates in our dorm room. So, we always had big dreams of just open up our own business. And then we went and worked these entry-level positions like most people do when they get out of college. And then we did that for about 2 years. And my partner, Mo, he reached out. He had to move to Saginaw, Michigan and he was in air traffic controller training. And that was a very stressful job for him at the time. And he was like, man, it's like, what do you guys think about if I move back, like starting a business? He's like, I'm getting homesick and I really want to pursue, some of the dreams that we talked about when we were, in college. And so we were like, man, come on back. We'll figure it out. And the grand idea that we came up with was starting a moving business by the name of Green Truck Moving. And so the concept was, it was an eco-friendly moving service. We wanted to run our trucks on biodiesel and plant trees for every move, and then recycle all of our customers' moving materials. And so we built that business literally at the time. All of us had about $1,000 a piece that we could, spend on that investment and start up. And so just to fast forward that, 7 years later, we sold that business from a $3,000 investment to a 7-figure flip. So we built it from moving. We got into storage. We started off with just us three and a dream, not to own a moving company, but just to be entrepreneurs. And then it moved into a 50 employee operation, 10 trucks, 20,000 square foot warehouse space. And then one day we had a truck flip on the road. And luckily there were no casualties, a few bumps and bruises. But at that moment, we were like, you know what? I think that it's time to go ahead and sell this business and practice our exit strategy. So, while we were on the road, we did long distance moving. While we were on the road everywhere, the easiest thing for us to do was, like, when it came time to eat, was to grab a slice of pizza. And so, we had been traveling all over the United States for about 6 or 7 years. And so we really felt like we knew what a good pizza was. And so we took that inspiration into our next venture. Once we sold that business, we basically invested into, the starting of Slim Huskies. And so, Nashville, Tennessee is our hometown. And right around 2010, we had major floods in the city of Nashville. And so between 5 and 7 years later, the investment from the government and just, private equity firms and investment all over the country was starting to pour money into Nashville. And that's when our tourism scene really began to take off, because they did a full rebuild of downtown Nashville, and it was just thriving. So hospitality seemed like the right route to go for us. And so we basically purchased a garage in our North Nashville neighborhood, and it was just an old car garage. And we started, testing our pizzas in that garage. We nicknamed it the Mad Pizza Science Lab. And so,
that's awesome.
The funny part about that garage is it didn't have any hot water. The electricity was super sketchy, would come on and off. There was nothing in this garage that mimicked a healthy facility to make pizza. But we rigged it up. It was super makeshift. There were times where we had to hook up a hose to the sink within the bathroom to run water into buckets, microwave that water to temp to make our dough. And it was just, it was like a true experiment for us. But what we found was that, that the ability to start from scratch and not know what we were doing at all gave us the ability to create a very unique product that truly has been a success. And so, after we kind of got, a few good tasting pizzas out the oven, we started opening up the garage doors. And we would literally just invite anybody that was walking by to come in and just try the pizza. We had some surveys for them that, asked them, did they like the cheese blend? Did they like the sauce? Was the proportions, right? 1 through 10. We just had a bunch of questions, and that was the trade-off. You don't have to buy a pizza, but you got to fill out this survey.
Like a lemonade stand, just with pizza.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so the big test for us was there was a neighborhood community meeting going on. This was in the area of North Nashville, and that's where our garage was. And so, we were like, man, it's a community meeting going on. Let's take some pizzas up to the community meeting and see how they feel about it. We knew a lot of people were going to be there. At this point, we had already started. We had broke ground on the actual restaurant that was on the same street, just on the other end. But nobody knew we were doing this. And so we had the bright idea. We took those pizzas to the community event. And, we were all excited, man. We're like, we got these free pizzas. Hope they love it. As soon as we walk in, there were 50 people just screaming at each other, back and forth. And what had happened was North Nashville is this very historical neighborhood within Nashville, Tennessee, home to the Chitlin Circuit, Ray Charles, Jimi Hendrix was found on Jefferson Street and discovered on Jefferson Street, but Little Richard, Etta James, you name it, all of these artists used to come and perform up and down throughout North Nashville. So there was a history of the neighborhood that was different than some of the new neighbors that wanted to move in. And so everybody had different visions of where they wanted the neighborhood to go, right? And so this community meeting, instead of it being a moment for people to meet each other and connect, which turned out to be, just a lot of drama. And so we walked in the middle of it with these pies, and you could hear a pin drop on the ground. We opened the door. People turned around, looked, and they see these 3 dudes with a bunch of pizzas in their hands, and they're like, "Anybody order pizza?" I don't think. And so we're like, no, it's Clint, Mo, and EJ, and we were working on a pizza shop that's going to be opening a few doors down, and we thought you guys might want to check us out, and we thought you guys might need some food for the meeting. And so I guess it turns out, those Snickers commercials make sense. It seemed like a lot of them were
hungry,
yeah.
Hungry.
So they stopped the meeting, let us put the pizzas out, and people started eating the pizzas. And next thing you know, we noticed that instead of, screaming and arguing, there were conversations, starting to be had within the space. And the meeting eventually, got going again, but the hostility in the room had completely left. And, it was like magic. And I think that's when we realized that, what we're trying to do is bigger than, feed a bunch of people. We are really more so feeding the community with more than just pizza, hope, vision, diversity. We had the opportunity to really open people's eyes up to what the future of the neighborhood could look like based on, a simple vision between the 3 of us of, new entrepreneurship in the neighborhood, the ability to provide jobs to those within the community, and it hadn't been done before. Before we opened our restaurant, there were, I would say, probably about 15 blocks of corners with empty buildings, businesses that had been long gone. And here we were trying to be a beacon and light in the neighborhood and bring some of the old energy back. And so from there, I would say about a year later, we continued to develop our product. And a year later, we opened our doors and we sent out a message within the community that from Monday to Thursday, we would be feeding the community for free. They could come get a slice between 12 and 5. Just to kind of help us we had never run a restaurant, a full scale restaurant before. We wanted to utilize that for training and, allow people to come in and get a free pizza, and allow us to train our staff the way we wanted the atmosphere to be, at Slim Huskies. And so, we had no idea, how much people like free food, because after the second day we looked down the street and there was like a line just, forming
unreal
at 12 o'clock every day and running till 5 o'clock. And so we got used to being busy. And then, at the end of the week, we said, what, I think we might be ready to open the doors and make a little money. And so I would never forget that, we were so thankful because everyone that, stood in those lines for the free pizza end up coming back ready to pay,
of course,
for their first pizza. And so the very first day we opened, there was a line, 2 or 3 blocks long. And that line, kept, going and it was steady probably for about the first year of our business. And then the only reason the line slowed down is we realized we could serve more communities. And it's time to start, expanding. And so we started to open up a restaurant pretty much every 6 months. The first one we opened up was a takeout location across the street because we weren't able to do takeout based on the square footage of our current facility. Then we went to another neighborhood about 30 minutes away called Antioch, Tennessee. And then, we felt, our pizza art and music brand and the hip hop culture that we we're all about. We felt like Atlanta was a good market. So 6 months after that, we opened up a shop in Atlanta. And, we went every 6 to 12 months with a new restaurant. And then here comes COVID. That was a very interesting and challenging time in the restaurant industry. And we took it on full scale and opened up several restaurants in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. And we are now, coming out of, the effects of that, with a new vision, but the same overall goal of, basically making our communities better that we serve, one slice at a time.
I will say that that purpose, that vision, but really the purpose that you shared before, I will say it's the most inspiring purpose I've ever heard articulated in a way that is so simple and meaningful. And I think it also captures the magic of pizza. Like pizza is one of those foods that brings people together. And I think the story of what happened in the community space when you first brought the pizza and how it turned arguments into unity and conversations, I think that is captures the essence of this industry, of this product across the country. And so I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
What was the most challenging part about opening your first shop? And that was my other question. It's like, how did you go from garage to an actual brick and mortar? And was that experience difficult? Was it time consuming? Did it take longer than usual? I ask that because it usually is the biggest barrier to entry for aspiring operators.
Yes, I feel like the challenge was just inexperience, the biggest challenge. As an entrepreneur, when you got something good cooking, that, your vision and your dream can keep you up at night. It's hard to go to sleep because you got all these ideas of how great things are going to be and everything that you want to implement into this big idea. And so, once we got the restaurant started, got the garage going, broke ground on the initial location, it was very stressful at one point in time because it was taking so much more longer to get everything approved through codes, the back and forth between codes and the architect. And then, once they got everything squared away to, the general contractor being able to get, the right materials in on time to meet the schedule and budget. And, we've got a plaque on our wall, on the front of our wall, on our original restaurant, that says Slim Husky's established 2015. And they're like, "Oh, this has been here since 2015." I'm like, "No, that's when the actual idea came to mind, working on the pizza. But we didn't actually get into this building until March of 2017. So
took 2 years.
Took 2 years, and from idea to to conception. So having patience was very difficult. You know what I'm saying? And now that we are 11 stores in, I realize that, whatever they say that the time to open is on the, when we meet with our contractors, I just put 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got to be able to, stay sane and feel good about, the movement of this build out. But the inexperience was very tough. But this is what I tell people is that, you can't be scared about the inexperience. You have to look forward to the challenge and the sacrifices that you're going to have to make with this business. That ought to be just as exciting to look forward to as you making your first dollar or getting your first 5-star review. Like, you've got to look forward to some of the things that most people turn their back on, and that's what we've been able to be very good at, is understanding that the sacrifices are really part of the blessing and part of the growth. And so whenever the restaurant opens up, we'll be ready. You know what I mean? And if it hasn't opened up yet, or if we haven't had this learning lesson with a product or a service or whatever it is, once we have opportunity to experience that lesson, like, that was meant to happen that way. And so we need to take it, learn from it, and just continue to get better and figure out ways to help our business learn from some of the mistakes that we might make because of our inexperience. So that's what I just encourage people to do. Like, something negative happens along the way when you're getting this thing started, like, take a deep breath and, like, remember that feeling, because that's what's going to make you better, not everything being peachy day in, day out.
That's an amazing perspective in all businesses, and it's similar to the experience I've been through. A lot of people start a journey with partners. It seems like you and your partners have really figured out how to make that partnership work. You guys are a team. Talk more about what kind of investment you've made in each other to make sure that you're continuing to go down a really successful journey.
Yes, our partnership is very unique. I think it's very important in partnerships for you to establish roles and trust your partner within that role. I think that, along with creating a legal framework around what you do that doesn't leave your business in a he say, she say limbo. If there's ever any true issues that you have to work your way through. But there's a common ground understanding of what's expected, what the expectations are between us as partners within this marriage, because a partnership truly is a marriage when you're operating a business together. And so that's very important. But what really worked well for us was those roles. EJ Reed is, he's always been a very smart financial mind. When he came out of college, he was a financial analyst for a company. And so that skill set he was already developing before we started in entrepreneurship. He's also very strategic and does really well. And then so he, started off as our CFO. He's since moved to our CEO. And Derrick Moore is a very, I just like to say he executes a plan very well. And so he's the guy that has, started off as our COO, making sure that, stores had what they needed, that SOPs were created and followed properly, and that, even some of the smaller things, if the plumbing was down, he was the one, making sure that the stores had what they needed to continue to run every day. And as we put a plan together as a team, he was the one making sure that we were checking everything off day in, day out, and we were staying on task, staying on schedule to be able to meet our goals. And so, I've kind of served as, the brand specialist, very tightly, very close with the food and our menu development. A lot of the vision and like wild ideas come from in my office. So, we all have different, ways of doing business. However, we have one common goal, and that is to continue to build this business, and also don't let this business get in the way of our friendship.
Yep.
We've been able to draw those lines. I tell people, doing business with friends is, a lot of people say you should never do business with your friends. Well, I think that's a terrible myth. I just think that the friends that you should be doing business with and the ones you shouldn't be doing business with. And so we've got tons of friends, but all of our friends aren't meant to be a member of Slim Husky's ownership group, right? And so, we just basically, practice integrity. The number one thing is accountability. And, we've got this theme that we say that called "Don't be that guy." Like, don't be the guy.
Don't be that guy. Yep.
Don't be the guy that this late. Don't be the guy that, don't be the weakest link. And so everyone, really, holds true to that. And if I'm, the one thing that I feel like bothers me and worries me is if I'm like about to be late to a meeting with my partners, because I hold them to that standard.
Yep.
Excellence. I don't want them to see me, differently, or me not meeting my tasks for the month, or when we do a yearly annual review of our performance between the three of us at the end of the year, which we do every year. I don't want to be the guy that, that let everybody down or didn't do what I said I was going to do. And so if you can have that kind of respect for your partners in whatever business that you have, and they have the same respect back, you guys can really reach some, great heights.
Don't be that guy, but you have to have the same, if not higher standards for yourself.
Absolutely.
That then you're going to hold others accountable to. I will say, I grew up on Staten Island. I grew up with the members of the Wu-Tang.
Yeah.
And so pizza rules everything around us. I imagine that's where that came from. But speak more to what that means from a brand and purpose perspective for Slim Husky.
Absolutely. Man, when I think of Wu-Tang, I think of brotherhood, right? Yeah. Like they all came together to do something amazing. And so, that's really what we've done is, all of us are from different sides of the tracks. We basically, I think any one of us could, and after Slim Huskies one day, like, I think all of us are going to be great independent entrepreneurs at whatever we decide to do. But we decided, in this part of our lifetime, to come together and build something as a team, very similar to Wu-Tang. And the other piece of that, too, is, we were, and we still are, disruptors within our industry. There weren't many African-American owned pizzerias, before Slim Huskies. And even within the African-American community, pizza was not a huge the dish for African-American communities, in the 60s or 70s. Like, this was something that, you really didn't see Black families eating. Like I had never, like, growing up, I'm 39, growing up, I never saw my grandma order us. When all my cousins were over our house, she never ordered us a pizza. We were eating fried, getting a bucket of chicken, home cooked meal. And I say bucket of chicken, Miss Winters is like, we're from Nashville. Miss Winters is like a big part of our childhood, right? But so she would go to Miss Winters and, get buckets and feed the whole family. But most of the time she was cooking within her kitchen. pizza delivery was not part of, my experience.
The culture. Yeah.
Until like the TGIF era. Right. And so, Family Matters, Boy Meets World, Full House, WrestleMania. Like these were like the early 90s was a time where, kids were at that time were having sleepovers at their friends' house or teammates' houses. And parents were going to order pizza and feed all the kids and a bunch of fruit drinks and soft drinks. And like that was like the pinnacle of what you could have going on as a kid on a Friday or Saturday night, right? And so we remember that, growing up in those early 90s. And we, that's why our love for pizza was created. It wasn't, within our family. It was just that cultural phenomenon of what ABC had going on back in the day. And, pizza parties at school. And then, from a disruptive standpoint, being from Nashville, like, you think country music, USA, right? Where we're from, like country music's not what we're listening to. Right? We grew up listening to Master P, Outkast, UGK, Wu-Tang, LL Cool J, Tupac, Biggie, etc. Nas. So when we started thinking about building out this brand, we were like, "No, man, we're going to fuse it. Like, we don't want you to walk in and feel like you're at any regular like pizzeria, neighborhood pizzeria. Like we want you to walk in and really feel, how we grew up." And so, it just seemed like the right fit to be able to bring in classic hip hop and R&B groups to like name our menu after and just make our mantra Preem, Pizza Rules Everything Around Me, basically just because we loved Wu-Tang growing up. You know what I mean? We had opportunity, to meet several members, within our quest in this pizza game and concerts, delivering them pizzas and telling our story of, of like how they influence, what it is that we do. And so you had people in Nashville hearing about these three black dudes that opened up a pizza shop playing super loud hip hop music. And we had house rules on the walls that basically let you know, like, hey, after 6 p.m., you're gonna hear curse words in the music. Yep. You're gonna see. We're gonna have movies on the wall. There might be some slight nudity, being played. Everything that we did was just a little piece of like how we grew up, from the loud music to like sneaking and watching movies we shouldn't have been watching. That the art on the wall. Like we always, all three of us have a big love for art. Like we just put it in this, in this box and just nourished it. And then, next thing you know, like we've got a brand that stands out that's different than everybody else's.
I'll tell you, that's the common theme I get. And I say this over and over. If you want to be successful, be authentic to yourself, to your story, to your background. And I think, you're one of the best storytellers I've had a privilege to speak with. And I think, my advice is to continue to do that and be true to who you guys are and what you want to create that doesn't, necessarily exist. You don't have to follow somebody else's rules. Yeah. If we were to fast forward 5 years from now, what's Slim and Husky? What are you guys up to 5 years from now?
Yeah, so what we're up to 5 years from now is what we're working on now.
Okay.
Like you got to, whatever you're working on now is what you're going to be dealing with, 3 to 5 years. Yeah. So, we came into this year post-COVID with a real focus on tightening everything. Now we got started so fast that, we felt like, man, some of the wheels were getting a little wobbly. So we wanted to tighten up. So we've, just like many people in the restaurant industry have begun focusing on our high performance stores, kind of shutting down a few of the low performers and going to going to different markets that we feel like really fit our brand. So, we're looking at locations right now in Chicago, Illinois, which we know is a big pizza city. But we get a lot of Chicago customers coming in on the regular for tourism. They love our pizza, and we hope to be able to, have a home in that marketplace soon. So Chicago, Houston, Texas, Dallas, New Orleans, all the major cities within the South, a few in the Midwest like Chicago and Detroit. East Coast wise, I think we're going to explore Washington, D.C., just because, of some of our roots that we have there, and then expanding heavily in some of the markets that we're already in. I just actually moved to Atlanta, Georgia. Primary purpose is to make Atlanta, just like our Nashville market, a home away from home. So hopefully want to be in those cities with units, and also exploring the CPG route with frozen pizza, and using our brand to sell other things outside of pizza that's within the pizza realm, and just basically creating the Slim Huskies brand into a household name across America. I think that's our vision. And, we know what the basis is now. The foundation is just how we got started. For us, is community. Everything that we do, whatever market that we go in, whatever product we create, we're going to keep the foundation community. Even if we go to some, early on, we always went to communities that were underserved. Now we've kind of expanded that, the geographic locations that we go to based on, what we feel like would, create the best level of success for us. But our commitment is to always bring, those blessings back to who need it the most. And so we're very clear on that, and how we get up and move every day. And, hopefully, you talk about 5 years, I'm thinking 10 to 20, right? I'm a big Titans fan, and we went to see them play the Ravens last year in London. And, I started seeing some American brands, food brands over in London. I'm just like, man, it just opened up my eyes to think I think we could definitely be a global brand,
for sure,
within 10 years. So, hopefully you'll see us there one day.
I'm sure I will. That's inspiring. I think you'll get there and more. Just keep doing, obviously, what you're doing. It's really inspiring. And I'll give you, hopefully I'm gonna see one thing in the future that maybe you're thinking about, maybe you're not, but that's the Slim Huskies Pizza and Hip Hop Festival. And so that's something I'll plant the seed on, and okay. I'll buy a ticket when it happens.
Sounds good, man.
It was great talking to you. An amazing story, and I couldn't thank you enough for joining us today.
I appreciate your time, man. Highlighting our business. Thank you.